We're learning more tonight about the death of a Utah National Guardsman, his wife now being charged with murder. I'll bring some of those details coming up.
An audit has been released just ahead of the November election. We'll talk more about its findings coming up.
We're kicking up the winds before our next storm. When does it arrive and what will it bring? I'll let you know.
Nearly 2 months into recovery, a Spanish Fork man has dozens to thank after his life was saved.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
We are learning new details tonight about the death of a Utah National Guardsman and his wife being charged with his murder. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gooby brings us the very latest.
There's an allegation of a violent homicide that happened in a sort of a bedroom community in suburbia.
A disturbing situation in a Cottonwood Heights neighborhood. Jennifer Gledhill faces 9 felony charges, including murder of her husband, Matthew Johnson. She was arrested after the man who claims to be having an affair with her said she admitted to killing Johnson.
She had told him that her husband had discovered that she was sleeping with someone else, and they had argued, and that she had shot him in the head while he slept.
Gledhill reported Johnson missing on September 28th. She told police that she had not heard from him or seen her husband since an argument on the 20th. He told her not to call him for a week. Investigators say the informant told them around September 21st, Gledhill killed him, put his body in a rooftop storage container, slid it down the stairs, and buried him in a shallow grave somewhere up north.
So while we file charges today, the work continues. The body has not yet been recovered, but based on the totality of the evidence that we were able to gather, we felt sufficiently comfortable that we had probable cause to warrant the filing of the charges that we did.
Investigators say they found a new mattress in her room. A circular pattern on the carpet tested positive for blood, and there were presumably blood stains around the room. Investigators also saying she had used bleach to clean the house and thoroughly cleaned her car as well. Regarding the weapon used,
the defendant allegedly said that it was a gun that he had seen and that she had used.
When they searched Gledhill's parents' home, they found a tote box with the gun box inside that matched the description the informant shared, hoping that as the investigation progresses, loved ones get closure.
No matter whenever there's a loss of life, we all are impacted by that.
In Cottonwood Heights, I am Maithili Gooby, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, prosecutors in Tooele County have issued murder charges and an arrest warrant for a man from Washington State. Authorities believe 46-year-old Jaswinder Dhillon killed Jaspinder Singh at a truck stop in Dell on September 26th. He's also facing an aggravated kidnapping charge. If you have any information that could help lead to Dhillon's capture, call police.
Vernal police have identified 2 suspects in the disappearance and death of Kimberly Hyde as Henry Rucera and a juvenile they will not publicly name. Hyde was reported missing on October 7th and found dead inside her car the next day. Police say Rucera is not in North America right now. The juvenile suspect is in police custody.
Tonight on the path to the White House, former President Donald Trump addressed the Economic Club of Chicago this afternoon about his plans for the economy. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris was in Detroit, where she sat down for a live radio interview on the syndicated radio show The Breakfast Club to answer questions sent in by listeners.
We are now exactly 3 weeks from Election Day, and a new audit is out about signature gathering candidates for the Utah primary. It involves 3 big names on the ballot.
Fox 13 News reporter Avery Klanowski was at a legislative hearing today where it was unveiled.
You know, this isn't an easy process to go through, but we want to do it to make sure that we're given faith to the public in this process.
The audit was ordered after questions were raised surrounding 3 of the top Republican candidates who won their Republican primary races by gathering signatures to earn a spot on the ballot.
Looked at the signature verification process as it relates to petitions, specifically petition ballots, and we actually looked at 3 races, specifically Governor Cox, Derek Brown, and John Curtis. Specifically, we looked at 1,000 samples from each race. And the way we determined that number is we wanted to be able to say with a 95% confidence that we could establish an error rate between a certain range.
The Davis County clerk validated the signatures and believes the audit vindicates their work.
Things that they did not find that are accusations that are out there. First of all, they didn't find any signatures that didn't exist. Everybody who they reviewed in these packets was an actual person. There was an actual signature there. They did not find private voters who were made up or had invalid signatures.
There was nothing fraudulent about this. There was no people that were not citizens that, you found signatures and all of that, because I think there's, we see a lot of stuff on social media. And so what your report showed is there was some discrepancies that you have to work on, but it wasn't because there was anyone forging people's signatures or people signing that weren't allowed to sign.
That's not to say there weren't issues. The Legislative Auditor General's report recommended greater transparency and trainings surrounding signature verification.
A system that we can put in place where, like, if it looks like a signature isn't matching, that person is notified so they have appropriate time to come, validate that it's them.
Auditors also referred some issues they found to the Attorney General's office. Republican leaders on Utah's Capitol Hill say bills have been opened ahead of the 2025 Utah legislature geared toward greater controls and transparency. On the Hill, Avery Klinowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Fox 13 News is committed to keeping you informed about the issues on the ballot. Earlier this evening, we aired a 30-minute special report dedicated to highlighting some of the big ballot issues. If you missed it, you can watch America Votes, What's on Your Ballot, anytime on our website, fox13now.com.
We have breaking news we are tracking at this hour in Kearns.
Crews right now on the scene of a house fire. Take a live look. This is in the area of 4700 West, 5900 South. Unified Fire says this blaze all started in this detached garage. Now, it's not affecting any other structures. As you can see, looks like the flames had been knocked down. We are working to get more information from authorities there on scene. Lots of them still monitoring the situation. We, of course, will keep you updated as we learn more.
Utah Task Force 1 returned home today, arriving at the Logistics Center in West Jordan after a 19-day deployment to the southeast United States in response to Hurricane Helene. 80 members of the team helped with recovery efforts in northeast Tennessee, which was devastated. While working in Tennessee, they say it was unnerving to hear reports Hurricane Milton might also strike the area.
All deployments are different. This one, of course, was really different, knowing that there was a second storm in the Gulf that was headed that way as well. But our guys stayed focused. They knew the mission. We were there to help local authorities search for their community members.
The task force was ready to go into Florida behind Milton, but their help was not needed. Since it's still peak hurricane season, team members will need to be ready to go again within a week, should FEMA need their services.
A company I previously profiled on my Utah Made series back in March is making a difference for those impacted by the hurricanes. Minky Couture has donated 6,000 blankets, about $450,000 worth, to hurricane victims. Sandy Hendry, the founder and owner of Minky Couture, says she knew she had to do something after seeing the devastation left behind from both hurricanes.
We're proud of being able to help others and to give back, and we hope that they find some kind of comfort and joy in wrapping up in a blanket, and we want them to know that everyone out west is thinking about them and that we're not thinking anything but the best and hoping for them to recover, and we want to help them.
Such a nice gesture. Minky Couture is also teaming up with the American Red Cross to match donations up to $50,000. If you'd like to donate, go to the redcross.org link on Minky Couture's Instagram page.
I'll tell you what, there's something really comforting about a Minky Couture blanket.
There is, in more ways than one.
Oh, yes. Well, blankets, we might need to use them here. An extra layer as we look towards the end of the week, where we're going to see some very cold temperatures, especially in the overnight hours. So get that blanket ready. All right, let's share a photo coming up on our Facebook page. This was a beautiful moonrise sent in by Christy. Yeah, awesome celestial views. Yes, of a near full moon. The full moon will actually be on Thursday. They call it the Hunter's Supermoon. It will be the fullest moon or the largest moon of 2024. So get ready for that. Of course, we have a lot of other celestial views. We'll talk about the comet a little bit later on. Several photos and videos coming in on that. Now, we saw that view just after sunset. Speaking of sunset, we haven't set the sun on these warm temperatures today. We got up to 81 degrees. Near record tying, didn't quite get there, but still well above average. Right now we're looking at temperatures in the 60s. This is typically where we should be for our afternoon highs, and we're still finding these warm temperatures even here just after 9 o'clock. Now winds, nothing of concern right now. That's going to be changing tomorrow. Strong winds coming out of the southwest ahead of our next storm system and cold front. We're not seeing much action right now. Clear conditions across northern Utah. Southeastern Utah, a few isolated showers. They're definitely winding down. So for tonight, your forecast, overnight lows getting down into the upper 50s, keeping it clear. But with that storm, we know we're getting winds and some colder temperatures. Some of you might see snow. I'll show you who. We'll get that coming up in just a bit.
Thanks, Breck. She won a bronze medal in speed skating and was convicted in connection with a pandemic fraud case. She was supposed to learn her fate today, but a surprising move was made in court. We'll explain why Allison Baver's sentencing was delayed.
And a reunion months in the making after two boys from Spanish Fork saved a man's life at a cross-country meet. Fox 13 News takes you there next.
The Olympics for speed skating.
A surprise in the courtroom this afternoon in the case of former Olympic speed skater Allison Baver. I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle. The judge postponed sentencing for Baver indefinitely because she was worried Baver's defense attorneys had been ineffective. This was Baver outside the courthouse today. Last year, a jury convicted Baver of 4 counts related to the $10 million Paycheck Protection Program loan she received. Among other things, Baver claimed she had 430 employees. Prosecutors said she had none. But federal judge Jill Parrish was choking up almost from the moment she took the bench. Parrish said she had been losing sleep over this case because she thought Baver's trial attorneys were, quote, not constitutionally effective, end quote. The judge questioned aloud whether the lawyers employed any real strategies during trial back in June of last year. Parrish then agreed to postpone the sentencing to give Baver time to file motions for a new trial. Baver was represented at trial and again today by public defenders. Baver herself was choking up and hugging one of those public defenders after the hearing. The defense have been arguing for 4 years that Baver intended to use a $10 million Paycheck Protection loan to make films, but the program criteria was confusing, that COVID shut down productions, and then the government seized the money, making things harder for Baver. It wasn't clear after the hearing who's going to represent Baver now or when those motions for a new trial might be filed. At the federal courthouse in Salt Lake City, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Tonight, a reunion months in the making. 2 Spanish Fork High School students who saved the father of one of their cross-country competitors back in August are now being thanked and honored.
And Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold was there as they reunited with the man they saved.
I'm just grateful for all those who were in my path.
This is Ferris Child, sitting front row.
I know one of the city council members really well.
Surrounded by his family at the Spanish Fork City Council meeting Tuesday night.
Definitely was a shock.
An avid runner, just 49 years old. He says it was a typical Saturday in late August. He was at his son's cross-country meet in Spanish Fork.
I like to kind of stand there so that I can really cheer my son on. And I walked over there. Don't remember too much for the next couple of days.
His wife Deanna says it was a phone call.
I could hear in the background things going on.
EMS was on the other line.
They were asking me questions, medical history and stuff.
Ferris was transported by ambulance to Mountain View Hospital in Payson. That's where doctors confirmed he was having a heart attack.
And they saved his life, and they saved our family from quite a upheaval.
When Ferris collapsed, 2 Spanish Fork High School students were the first on scene and began CPR.
I was at exactly the right place at exactly the right time with exactly the right people.
On Tuesday,
I'd like to recognize many individuals that have joined us tonight.
Ferris got to shake hands with the men and women who took over his care and helped save his life, and came face to face with the teens who jumped into action that day.
It was just good to see him, good to know that he's doing well, able to walk with all that's been going on.
Him, slowly dying, and then now, about a month later, he's happy, he's smiling.
Humble heroes.
Thank you for your outstanding courageousness and life-saving actions.
A special connection.
This is a good step for me to meet these people and have this opportunity to help me move forward.
Well, Ferris says he's taking things day by day, but he's on his way to making a full recovery. Here in Spanish Fork, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We are almost to the edge of the cliff. Almost.
We're creeping toward.
To the edge of the cliff.
I think half of us are ready to jump and the other half are saying, no, not yet, please.
We like summer to stick around, I know. As we were talking about that, though, we're going to see a big drop in temperatures. We're going to finally get some rain, and for some of us, we have a chance of seeing some snow. Today, though, we saw these warm temperatures once again. Close to getting up to the record. We got up to 81 in Salt Lake City. On average, again, we should be in the mid-60s. We're going to at least have another day potentially looking at some 80s. Then we're saying goodbye to the 80s. I don't see them coming back here for the rest of the year. Never say never, but it's going to be tough, especially where we're looking ahead, at least on Thursday and Friday. Temperatures quickly will be dropping. Right now, though, we're in the 60s, enjoying light winds. Air quality, well, a lot of counties in the yellow today. We had some smoke in play coming in as we've seen more of a southerly, even a southeasterly flow. So some of that smoke from the Yellow Lake fire spreading here throughout some of the Wasatch back and across northern Utah. Now, models indicating here, yes, winds will be picking up. That's a concern for the fire, especially as we look towards tomorrow, pushing that smoke through southwest Wyoming. So stronger winds, not good. But as we go into Thursday, we've got a very good chance of seeing some showers, rain initially, and then snow up near that fire. So hopefully this will not be an issue once we get towards the weekend. Now, with those winds, we don't want to start any additional fires. There are some other fires we have to be concerned with. We're going to see some strong winds as red flag warnings will be in effect. Let me show you another watch map here. The blue indicating winter storm watch will be in effect, gearing up for the storm. Yes, snow will be falling and accumulating, and some significant amounts. Wasatch Mountains south of I-80, western Uinta Mountains. We're kind of taking a look at a range there where the Cottonwoods potentially getting up maybe close to 2 feet of snow. Other locations kind of a range of 10 to 18 inches. So a good snow producer, at least for the mountains, but snow levels will be dropping. How far? We'll answer that in just a few moments. Let's take a look at satellite radar. We've got those clouds in place across southeastern Utah. They're looking at generating maybe an isolated shower, but this next storm system coming in 2 waves. The first one, as we transition from Wednesday into Thursday, this will drop temperatures, bring some showers on Thursday morning, but the second wave, that's got the cold air. That's what's going to be dropping those snow levels, where for the mountains, again, as we showed you on that range here over the next 48 hours, impressive amounts. Yeah, we're talking a good storm here to kind of build up a base for some of the ski resorts. Difficult, though, to hopefully keep that base around. But as we take a look at these computer models, let's look at the timing where we've got those clouds across southeastern Utah. Tomorrow, just a few high clouds pushing through. Wednesday, though, and late in the day, those clouds moving in, storm hitting early Thursday morning. So a wet start to your Thursday morning, a little break in the early afternoon hours. Thursday night through Friday, take a look there. The precipitation, rain changing into snow, blue. Snow levels getting down to about 5,500 feet, meaning that we're going to see some snow along the benches and a mixture of rain and snow on the foothills. Extreme northern Utah, we definitely could see some snow for the valleys. Now, here are your Friday temperatures, though. Quick drop, 30s in Park City, 40s in Logan. But let's get you to tomorrow, where we get to enjoy the 80s for at least one more day. Many spots, though, in the mid to upper 70s through central Utah. St. George, we go 80s. Plus Wednesday and Thursday, rain Friday, 50s to 60s with some rain on Saturday morning. Then we're clearing out and we're warming back up. Northern Utah, 80s to 60s to 50s. Rain showers, a mixture of rain and snow early Friday morning. Lingering showers early Saturday, and then we're clearing out. We're warming back up into the 70s. So there's your hint of fall, even a little bit of winter. Here we go. We're back right after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. The tragedy of stillbirth impacts about 1 in 175 pregnant women in the United States. Today, University of Utah Health took a step to reduce that number. They announced the designation of the nation's first stillbirth center of excellence. It's looking to bring together experts to drive change in critical areas like research, improving clinical care, providing support for affected families, and reshaping our understanding of stillbirth.
This has really been done with collaboration with families who have been through this. And the families have said, this is what we need. And these are the things that we're not getting from the medical system. And these are things we need to have from the medical system in order to have the best medical outcomes, and also to feel heard and to feel like we have the emotional support that we need.
The U's Stillbirth Center of Excellence has set a bold goal of cutting America's stillbirth rate in half over the next decade.
UDOT is installing touchless crosswalk buttons around the state to help the blind or disabled find their way. It's called an Accessible Pedestrian Signal, or APS. These buttons utilize two kinds of action: movement, such as nodding or waving, or activation through an app. Once it's triggered, the APS alerts pedestrians using an audio feature, translating visual information into audible commands.
Using these new push-button technologies, we're hoping to expand upon our existing transportation system within the state and be more inclusive and accessible to all users, whether they're driving a car, taking the bus, walking, riding their bike. And at the end of the day, we just want to keep Utah moving safely.
UDOT has already installed about 1,000 of these buttons at nearly 250 intersections around the state. They plan to have the next feature at every signalized intersection on state routes by 2033.
Coming up, Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets has the third and final part of a series on bullying in schools. Tonight, the most high-profile bullying case in Utah last year and new ideas to prevent it.
And caught on camera, a chase with the Utah Highway Patrol comes to a fiery end. We'll break down the dramatic video for you next.
The report today is for the 12 calendar months that ended June 30th.
Some of the behavior that you see by board members would have definitely cost them their teaching jobs.
Last school year, it was one of the most high-profile cases of student bullying. Elected board member Natalie Klein posting a photo online implying that a girls' basketball player is transgender. She was wrong.
This is just really, really sick and wrong and dangerous.
Since then, Klein was stripped of her duties, censured by the legislature, and repeatedly asked to step down.
She's not remorseful. She does feel like she's the victim, and it's sad.
What I think should be done is I think she should resign.
Now some lawmakers are considering whether to force future board members to undergo more training to prevent cases like this from happening again in the future. I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Adam Herbets. Here's why some people disagree with that idea.
The number of students receiving the services increased 32%.
Most members of the Utah State Board of Education say they hold themselves to a higher standard. They're in charge of Utah's public education system. But when it comes to training, it takes a lot more to be a teacher than a board member.
The only required training by state code is an annual training on Open and Public Meetings Act.
Some lawmakers are considering whether that needs to change based on the behavior of board member Natalie Klein and her controversial post on Facebook implying that a girls' basketball player is transgender.
I immediately was brought to tears because I grew up playing basketball in Utah. I'm a very masculine woman, and I was a very masculine girl. I had parents in the stands saying out loud, "Why is there a boy on the court?" Why are we going to let that boy play? And I grew up hearing that. I know what it feels like.
Well, let's just compare it to the legislature and the training we have.
State lawmakers like Carol Spackman Moss undergo more training than elected board members. She believes they need to learn more about bullying and student privacy, even if it's just to document how and why they should know better.
Absolutely, there should be training, and there should be no question that any kind of harassment or humiliation or comments about students is completely out of bounds.
The board says it has, quote unquote, learning opportunities throughout the year, but they're not mandatory.
The behavior that prompted that whole firestorm is, I think, more a matter of civility and respect for human beings. And I don't think you can train that into people.
Carol Lear is one of the board members who voted to strip Klein of her duties. She thinks training is usually a good idea, but not the answer this time. And even though elected lawmakers have more training than the State Board of Education, she doesn't think it does much.
Oh no, I don't agree with that at all. Everybody who's in a position of trust over students ought to have training, even if it seems like, oh, everyone should know that. You treat people with civility. You just remind them that I think there should be penalties. Ideally, they should do it themselves. And if they refuse to, then the legislature maybe needs to step in.
I think you can see examples of bad behavior in the legislature, both bullying and inappropriate behavior. We need to do a better job of developing good training. I've seen good training. I've seen really useless training.
That was Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbitz reporting there. We did reach out to Natalie Klein for comment, but she did not respond.
Klein will not be on the ballot next month because she lost her bid for re-election in the Utah primary. If you want to reach out to Adam or any of the other Fox 13 News iTeam members, send an email to iTeam@fox13now.com.
Today, the Salt Lake County Council passed a motion increasing public safety in the Cottonwood Canyons through enforcement of UDOT's sticker program. This year's program will launch Thursday. On those powder days where traction laws are in effect, if your car has the sticker on it, you're good to go through, no questions asked. The Salt Lake County Council plans to work with the legislature to improve traction laws in the Cottonwood Canyons in the upcoming legislative session next year.
We have new video tonight of a wild chase involving the Utah Highway Patrol that ended in a fiery crash on I-80. It happened September 25th. Both UHP and West Wendover police were chasing two domestic violence suspects, both with guns. The pursuit went up to 125 miles an hour at times. Eventually, a trooper used the pit maneuver that you just saw right there to stop them. The suspect's vehicle caught fire, as you can see, and both the driver and his passenger surrendered to authorities.
Salt Lake police have finished a 30-day-long operation cracking down on crime and drug activity along the Jordan River Trail. Between September 14th and October 14th, officers made 48 felony arrests, 54 misdemeanor arrests, and 183 traffic stops. They also issued 64 citations. Various weapons and drugs, including fentanyl, meth, and heroin, were also seized.
Coming up, Governor Cox wants to tackle the state's fentanyl crisis, the new measure he's put in place, and why some are criticizing it.
And it sounds like something straight out of the Jetsons, flying cars. And Utah is looking at making that a reality. We'll show you how. Utah's advocacy groups against domestic violence came together on the south steps of the state capitol this morning to announce a statewide awareness campaign. It's called Dear Utah.
The initiative is meant to provide a platform where survivors, family members, service providers, healthcare workers, law enforcement, and individuals can share their connections to domestic violence.
26% of Utahns do not believe that domestic violence is an issue in our state, and it is. It impacts all of us. Dear Utah, we can do better, and we must do better.
Survivors are encouraged to share their stories on dear-utah.com. You can also support the campaign on Instagram by following @dear_Utah.
Today, Utah Governor Spencer Cox introduced a task force dedicated to tackling the fentanyl crisis within our state. Officials say the number of fentanyl deaths more than doubled between 2019 to 2020. The number of overdose deaths in 2023 reached its highest at 606 deaths. 290 overdose deaths were fentanyl related. Governor Cox says it is a growing crisis.
There's enough fentanyl coming into this country in just a couple days to kill everyone in this country.
The task force is partnering with statewide leaders to brainstorm solutions, introducing more educational programs, also treatment initiatives, and dismantling trafficking networks. They're also determined to find out the social, economic, and psychological influences driving fentanyl use in Utah. And the Utah Senate Democratic Caucus responded to today's news conference saying they are, quote, disappointed by Governor Cox's attempts to politicize the fentanyl epidemic. Brian King, who's running for governor, also issued a statement saying Governor Cox, quote, used his press conference to parrot anti-immigrant rhetoric and blame rather than deliver real-time solutions.
Utah is preparing for a world of flying cars. The state is working with companies to experiment on advanced air mobility. The head of 47G, an association of aerospace and defense companies, says they'll start experiments very soon.
So the timing is that over the next year, we're going to get a foundation laid for the development to start so we can go vertical. Once that happens, we'll be able to bring a certified aircraft into the state and then through the FAA certify flight. So it'll all happen. And by the time the 2034 Olympics are here, we'll have operable routes that will help the world come and navigate Utah for the games.
UDOT has been involved in experiments with vertical takeoff and landing like this one in Layton earlier this year. The plan is to select 10 sites in Utah to try it over the next 6 to 8 months, focusing on both cargo and passenger transportation.
Well, as we go to break, another night of comet viewing, capturing under these clear skies. Up on our Facebook page, the opportunity to continue to capture these views, though. And we got a storm on the way. We'll talk about your opportunity, plus what this next storm will bring coming up after the break.
It's a different story at quarterback position at BYU and Utah. We'll look at the quarterbacks coming up in sports. And the preseason rolls on for the Jazz. They played the Kings tonight. Could they get the win? The highlights are on the way.
Midvale has some new art. Zions Bank Corporation, along with city leaders, unveiled a new 46 by 42 foot mural at their technology center in town. Shows a bouquet of wildflowers growing out of an open book. The artwork demonstrates how the beauty of innovation and creativity can bloom from knowledge.
Well, today, First Lady Abby Cox teamed up with Maverick, Real Salt Lake, and the Utah Royals to kick off this year's Utah Special Olympics Unified Sports Soccer Championship Tournament. 200 students from all across the state came together today at America First Field in Sandy for the state championship title in 4 divisions. And there were plenty of friends, family members, and fans on hand to cheer them all on.
This is an opportunity for kids across the state to see what inclusion looks like. It's for the entire population of the state of Utah to look and see what inclusion looks like and how inclusion matters. When our kids with and without disabilities get to play on the same teams together, they get to represent their high schools here in the state. We're so excited to see this come together today.
This was the 4th year of the tournament.
Well, we are just over 2 weeks away from Halloween.
Do you have your costume?
Yes.
What is it? Let me guess.
What?
An anchorman?
How did you know?
You play the part so well. It really should come as no surprise to you that Utah is getting top marks for going all out for the spooky holiday. I've seen some really awesome decorated
What
houses.
are you going to be?
Oh, well, I go to my usual Snow White costume.
Snow White, well, of course.
I have
No,
been
not a witch.
Snow White many years. Yeah. Look at this map. A newly released study by Coupon Birds ranks Utah #1 for Halloween decorations. So
of course.
We win.
Yeah, they only visited your house, didn't they?
Oh man, I do enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's a
you
fun
do.
holiday. The study analyzed Google search terms to determine its rankings. Now our neighbors, Colorado and Arizona, ranked 6th and 10th place respectively.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania,
nice
Kentucky, Texas, and New Hampshire rounded out the top 5. We won. Wait till the Christmas rankings come out.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Utah.
Yeah.
We got to take
no
that as well.
contest. No contest.
Tonight might be your last chance to see the Atlas Comet over Utah. It's not too late yet.
Yeah, we've been telling you about this. It's fading now after putting on quite the show the past few nights. You've been sharing spectacular photos on our Utah's Weather Authority Facebook page, so thank you for doing that. NASA Ambassador to Utah, Patrick Wiggins, says it's grown something called an anti-tail.
The tail that you see most easily points away from the sun. Well, that means that now that it's receding from the sun, it's actually chasing its tail. But the weird thing is, it's kind of got this little spiky tail sticking out in the other direction and, you know, kind of scratching the heads, figure out what's going on there.
Wiggins recommends heading to the West Desert away from light pollution for your best shot at seeing the comet right now.
Well, more photos have been coming in even for tonight, so that opportunity, yeah, limited. We do have about anywhere between a 7 to a 10-day window where the best viewing was Saturday, Sunday into tonight. Wednesday still a possibility, but the big question is, as we've been looking at clear skies over the past several days, Mother Nature will be playing a role on how you'll view and when you'll view that comet. In addition, on Thursday, we have a Hunter's super moon, the largest full moon of 2024. In question to view anything because it will be limited as we look at the forecast. We've got cloudy skies as we look Wednesday night through Thursday night, as well as potentially Friday night, clearing out for the weekend, but that opportunity will probably be passing us. Whereas we mentioned that comet, we see this every 80,000 years. So if you haven't seen it, well, go to our Facebook page and you'll get that view there. All right, outside right now in Salt Lake City, 66 degrees, winds light. We mentioned, of course, we've got winds tomorrow ahead of our next storm system coming in 2 waves with 2 cool fronts. Second wave coming through, cold enough that we start seeing snow and significant snow. Thus, we have winter storm watches that are in effect right now, which will be transitioning most likely to winter storm warnings, especially as we look Wasatch Mountains south of I-80 over towards the western Uinta Mountains. We're talking a foot to 2 feet of snow. A good snow producer for us. We like to see if that could build up our base, but boy, it's tough to get a big base here even as we look towards the middle of October without depleting it. Now, high pressure still bringing the 80s tomorrow here along the Wasatch Front. We finally break it down, move that high pressure off towards the east. We welcome in this cold system, again, coming in with 2 fronts where one will be hitting early Thursday morning and then another one Friday morning as this low pressure system bringing the cool air, cutting off from the main flow and staying here throughout the state heading into the weekend. Now, if it is a little bit further west, we can start to see that wraparound flow and start generating maybe potentially some east winds heading into the weekend. But we know it's going to bring the cold and it will bring the precipitation and snow levels down. Let's take a look. Going Wednesday to Thursday, snow levels begin to drop. The big, though, drop will happen as we go into Friday morning where we get those snow levels down, as I mentioned, towards the benches. And again, some of the valleys across extreme northern Utah, you could be seeing snow. Tonight, though, you're just seeing clear skies. Overnight lows in the upper 50s. Tomorrow, highs very similar as we've been seeing, near record tying or breaking here for tomorrow, at least for one more day. We've got 70s with a chance of maybe seeing some mountain showers through central Utah. Now, rain chances for St. George, we really get it going Friday. Cold temperatures, though, into Friday, Saturday with some lingering showers Saturday morning. We're back into the 70s by Monday and Tuesday. Northern Utah, rain and thunderstorms Thursday. Then the bigger drop on Friday with the mixture of rain and snow again throughout the benches. Most of the Wasatch Front will be mainly rain in the valleys, but we'll keep that snow in the mountains with the potential maybe seeing some snow early Saturday morning. Then we're back into the 60s and 70s with a lot more sunshine returning. But finally, we're bringing those 80s down and bringing the rain and snow.
Jazz played their 5th of 6 preseason games tonight against the Sacramento Kings, looking to bounce back from their only preseason loss in San Antonio on Saturday. Lauri Markkanen missed that game against the Spurs, but he was out there tonight. Comes off the screen, drains a 3. He had 21 points. Deontay George getting his teammates involved, feeds it to Cody Williams, and he knocks it down. Then George takes it himself. Step back 3 is up and good. He had 25 points and 5 assists. End of the third quarter now. Check out De'Aaron Fox. Puts it up from beyond half court at the buzzer, and it goes. What a shot by Fox. How about Taylor Hendricks here? Follows up the miss with the big-time throwdown. The Jazz beat the Kings 117-114 to improve to 4-1 in the preseason. Isaac Wilson is now the starting quarterback at Utah with Cam Rising out with a season-ending injury. He's already started 3 games this season, but that was with him and the entire team, always knowing Rising could return. He spoke up as a team leader in a team meeting this week, and now that there's no question who will be QB1, the team's ready to ride with the true freshman.
I think it's best for him, honestly, because in those weeks that we didn't know who was going to be starting, Isaac was kind of taking a good amount of the reps, and he didn't know if he was going to start. And I think for him, knowing that he's going to kind of go into that each week game mode, knowing he's going to start and preparing the right way, I think it'll help him a lot.
We're just going to get behind him, and those guys in the team meeting we had, you know, we were behind Isaac, and you know, he came up there, he said a few words, and he got us motivated. So we better go out there this week and just put it on tape.
BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff will try to lead the Cougars to a 7-0 record this season with a win over Oklahoma State on Friday night in Provo. Being the starting quarterback at BYU, it's a big deal, especially when your team is undefeated and ranked 13th in the country. Jake has felt that, but he's quick to give credit to everyone else around him.
You definitely feel it on campus. I'll be walking with a bunch of my teammates, and you'll still get people calling my name out, saying good job or saying good luck. It's a pretty cool deal. Too much credit given to the quarterback because it is all the guys around me that makes everything happen. So just knowing that, being conscious of that is something that I was taught early, and realizing it true for it to be also be true. Like it's one thing to say, it's another thing to believe it. And so that's something I believe. And so, you know, when it comes to leading stuff, I know you got to lead from the front and do the tough and hard things when you got to. I know that's kind of where I start because I'm always going to get in the grind, and then leading with positivity and giving the credit where credit's due.
It's a good way to do it. We'll be right back.
Well, you got to meet Utah's Hogle Zoo's newest residents, Nikolai and Ballstein, our Mongolian wild horses. There they are. Critically endangered animals. They just came from the Minnesota Zoo. The zoo warns you might see them chase, bite, or kick the other horses as they get used to their new homes.
Didn't they feed them in Minnesota? It looked like they're really hungry.
Dinner time.
Dinner time, apparently.
Definitely an education in wildlife.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Quick Cast up next.